This is Wednesday, June 17th, 2020, meeting of the Berlin Council on Aging. As a preliminary, I'm reading from the script that we have to do. It's our training wheels. As a preliminary matter, which you have preliminarily heard before, please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you. Take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. This is Robert Blair, Chairman of the Co-Chair of the Council on Aging. Please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me prior to me calling the meeting to order. I'm going to learn to read next week, and then the whole next one will be so much smoother. COA members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Robert Blair, present. Kate Bliss.
Present.
Lori Fairbay. Not yet. Karen Schultz.
Present.
Pat Wheeler.
Present.
And as our, let's see, not on the COA membership, but as our special guest, the new COA director, Victoria Flynn.
Welcome.
Welcome. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Peggy Sardell.
Here. Present.
You're both here and present. Mary Orada.
Here.
And anticipated speakers, please respond in the affirmative. So that would be from the Personnel Committee, whose face I cannot see.
I'm here.
Sue Therian.
Yes,
Hi,
present.
Sue. Thanks, Sue.
Hello.
With the quorum of the Council on Aging present, I call this meeting to order at 4:04 p.m. on Wednesday, June 17th, 2020. The open meeting of the Berlin Council on Aging is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. What can I skip on this long thingy? The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, provided reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. While no in-person attendance of members of the public is permitted, every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. Standard public comment portion of this meeting will accommodate limited public comment. For this meeting, the Berlin Council on Aging is convening using the Zoom platform. It's posted on the agenda identifying how the public may join. Public's encouraged to follow along during this meeting using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. Supporting materials that are available this evening, afternoon, midday, middle of the month, to members of the Council on Aging can be made available to the public by request. All right. Since we're not turning to the first item on the agenda, before we do so I guess we're not turning, we're doing the preliminary, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I'll introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will invite each council member by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Council members and speakers on the agenda, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until I yield the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in conversation with each other, please do so through me, taking care to identify yourself. And the public comment portion of the agenda, to the extent that our technical capability allows, public comment will be permitted during the public comment portion of this meeting as follows. Attendees' phones and other devices will be muted unless and until they raise their hand and are recognized by me to speak. And the raise your hand icon is at the top of your screen, at least it is on mine. It's somewhere on yours. I ask each member of the public who wishes to speak to identify their name, and I will afford each speaker time to ask a question or make a brief comment. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. So, enough of that formality. I'll call the roll as the first item on the agenda. Pat Wheeler,
Present.
Karen Schultz,
Present.
Kate Bliss,
Present.
and Lori Fairby. Has she joined yet or no? Okay. May we have a report on Council on Aging activities for May and June? And following that, we will vote to accept or not the meeting of COA board held on February 12th, February 25th, and May 12th of 2020. Did you all receive a copy of the activities of the month that Peggy Sardell created? Does anyone have corrections or additions, comments, wisecracks? Anything you want to throw in there? No? Can I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented, the record of the month as presented? Kate Bliss?
I'll make a motion to accept the record of the month as presented.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Okay, all those in favor? Pat?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Robert? Yes. Aye. Me. All right. And accepting the minutes of the COA meetings held on February 12th, 25th, and May 12th. Do I hear a motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Do I hear a second?
I
Second.
Pat?
I second.
Okay.
I accept.
All those in favor, you accept, and Karen,
Aye.
and Kate,
Aye.
and Bob, aye. I believe there was a financial report attached to that. But if there is an additional financial report, someone is welcome to make that. Karen, you're doing the secretary part, yes?
Yes, I am. I'm taking notes right now as we speak.
Okay, I thought you were looking studious there. Thank you.
Get it all written down.
And Kate, did you have any financial information to add to our pool of knowledge here? Yo, Kate.
I muted myself just in case my kids made themselves known. No, nothing in particular. We signed things for the undercoating for the band. Do you want me to read through what Peggy sent out, or?
Is what's required there, Peggy? We have to vote on individual items or just approve the expenditures as noted in your report?
Margaret, do I have to read the report? The financials? Margaret?
I don't think Margaret's in attendance.
Were they already shared? She is here. Were they already shared with the board by email?
Yes.
Oh, Margaret is in attendance.
Yes, I'm sorry, but I did miss your question. Financials on,
On the monthly report, I had sent out all the financials, the balances, plus all of the expenses that had been paid since the last meeting. What, do they have to be read at all?
Oh, no, they do not have to be read out loud. If the committee has gotten a copy of those, the committee could just approve them as submitted. I
Okay.
hope that answers your question.
Yeah, we have voted to accept the report on activities for the month, which also included a list of financial activities. So I would say that we have approved those. Any disagreement on that from anyone? All right then. Moving on. I have as item number 5, the introduction of the new COA director. Welcome, Victoria.
Hi,
You have
everybody.
I know
Welcome.
your
you very
notice of invitation was short. Have you prepared a lengthy speech of introduction or?
My introduction is hello, everybody, and I'm very excited to be working with you all.
Nice to have you with us.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Excuse me, through the chair. Victoria, would you like to give a little of your background for the members that you haven't met yet?
Sure. So I am a trained social worker. I've been a social worker now for about 7 years, and I recently just finished an MBA as well. So I'm very excited to be taking this on because I feel like it's definitely going to do both of my roles now very well. So I'm very excited. I work currently with elders, and I love working with elders. So I'm excited to now do this piece of it, a new part that I haven't done before.
Anyone have any questions for
She doesn't know what she's asking for.
her? Well, that's a great launch.
Well, hey,
I'm not.
we're honest here in Berlin,
That's
but most of our people are nice people to work with.
Starting,
So far, so good.
Victoria? Any idea when your starting date would
Hi,
be?
Peggy. I believe it's going to be July 9th. I'm actually getting married on July 4th, so I asked to start after the wedding because, yeah, it's a little
For
stressful.
obvious reasons.
Give her a few days.
Yeah, right?
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Best wishes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Won't be hard to remember your wedding date.
No, it won't, thankfully. And it's funny because my fiance's parents actually has the same wedding day too, so we're both going to have the same anniversary.
Oh,
So,
That's nice.
Talk about multitasking.
Yep.
no,
I think
you will never
indicated-
be able to forget it.
Right. I think I indicated in the email that I sent you about this meeting that I've spoken with
Yes.
Deb Goodsell at the Clinton Senior Center and also with Alex Turner at Lancaster Council on Aging. They're both well experienced in COA activities and work, and they both were enthusiastic about welcoming you to the fold, showing you the COA director's secret handshake, and learning the ropes and passing along their lore. So whenever you're ready, they're ready.
Yes, I'm very excited to meet them. So thank you all.
Great. Well, as everybody else has already said, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Item 6 was COA van issues. I don't think that the person at the wrap shop where we're having a design created has sent me anything. I was hoping that I had sent her some rough sketches. Actually, Mary, you have some photos that I took of the van and also of the van contest form. And I squiggled on the contest forms just a couple of weird, rough ideas of some possible decoration.
So we got nothing from the
Zip.
town.
Zip, not a zero, zilch.
I know people have been, busy, but
I guess they've been very busy. Okay,
I,
there's
I
the,
wasn't expecting a big goose egg.
well, neither was I. That's the front of the van. There's another one of, that's, flip beyond that one. There should be one of the old van's front. That's the old van back. That's the old van front. So I'm thinking probably something similar to that would be on the front of this van. And there is apparently, there's a colored, which Mary sent me, a colored version of the town seal, which could possibly go on. It's got some greens and reds. And if you look at the front of the van, Mary, stop fooling with the pictures. Where's the front of the van? Van front, up, almost. There's the seal.
There it is.
That's the colorful version. So theoretically, that could be put on. And then if you look at the old picture of the van front and the new van front, the location would be similar, I'm guessing, over the windshield, because you don't want to distract the driver staring down at the artwork. So I'm guessing, yeah, it's a little more sloped back on the new van than the other one, which is kind of a more flat, bulbous thing over the windshield, but I think it would still work. And then there's another picture. Oh, that's the Berlin Council on Aging logo that Holly looked, the previous COA director, had a graphic artist create. Shows a progression of ages of a female person from childhood up to seniorhood. And I thought possibly that or some part of it might be used on maybe on the sides of the van in conjunction with some of the other stuff you'll see in a minute. I think when I was speaking with her about it before, Lori was not keen on the on that design for some reason. I'm not sure why. How do the rest of you feel about that? The 5 profiles, which you had.
The colors, the order that they're in, but I don't have any strong feelings either way.
They don't revolt you, in other words.
No.
Okay.
But I don't look at it and think, wow, that's a really attractive.
We could
The
do.
concept is cool. I just don't like the colors together in the
Yeah.
order.
Can we have that one back for just a sec, Mary? The one of the no. Close, but no cigar. Nope. Nope. There. That one. Yeah, I mean, there could be more to it, I guess, probably. Especially if you had it on a 17-foot side of the van. The head would have to be either elongated or much bigger. So anyway, that's one piece of clip art, I guess you could almost say.
I don't think we have that clip art. I'm not sure where it came from, but unless you actually had a decent quality version of that file, that I just took that off of the Facebook page that the council used to run, that Holly ran. I'm not sure where the clip art came from.
The one you took off the Facebook page
The
was
multi-head, the head one, of all the heads.
Oh, yeah. Where did I get that? Well, I mean, we've seen, I think they had.
I could get in touch with her if I had to, but.
Yeah, I think she actually used it on some letterheads, and that's where I've seen it before.
Yeah.
And not to be all mysterious about this, Victoria, what we're looking at is the new van has arrived. At present, we're not operating it, but we held a townwide, fabulously successful contest to design artwork for the sides and back and front of the van. And people were preoccupied and didn't submit anything, but we're wanting to put some artwork on the sides of the van and lettering that identifies it as being part of the Berlin Council on Aging fleet. So that's what we're progressing through now. And in fact, it has to get done. What is it, Peggy? By the 24th, you have to have the invoice for it?
No. The way I understand it, the work has to be completed by the 30th of June.
Correct.
But June said that I can submit the invoice by the second Monday in July, which means
That's correct.
we have to have it the Wednesday before that in order to.
Okay, so that gives us a little more breathing room, but I actually would opt for not doing much breathing, because the more relaxed you get about it, the less urgent you feel about getting the thing completed. So I really do want to move this thing along and get the cotton picker painted up and good to go. And then we have one applicant for driver, in addition to Jenny Zukatinsky. Jenny, I don't know if Jenny has further committed or uncommitted to being the driver. She has been for some time, and stopped because the last person she transported tested positive for COVID, and it kind of freaked her out. And she wanted to make sure there were really strong safeguards and precautions and equipment and procedures in place so that both the passengers and the driver are protected. And I know that one of the things that I've seen that certainly would be put in place is that gloves would absolutely be required, face mask would be required. The driver is supposed to have one of those face shields when he or she seats someone, where they're in close contact. And even though it's a 10-passenger plus wheelchair van, at this stage of the game, we'd only be seating at most 2 people in it, because that would allow for 6 feet of space between them. Typically, I think we haven't had more than 2 passengers recently, and that's, those were people going to the Y, in one case going to a couple of medical appointments, and 1 or 2 people going to grocery runs. But Victoria, as an ambition, I would really hope to see us use the van much more extensively, get back to when health situation permits, taking people to grocery runs, medical runs, shopping, and then eventually, when venues open up where you can do this, transporting groups to places like Tower Hill and even concerts or someplace for ice cream, that sort of thing. So doing recreational trips as well. That won't happen immediately, but am I correct, Margaret, that we're sort of eyeballing the beginning of July as the time to get the van back on the road and going?
Yes, actually, I am trying to line it up somewhat in accordance with how we're going to be reopening our town buildings. So we're going to be calling employees back, just calling work from home employees back on June 29th, provided we have all COVID-19 protocols in place. We don't have everything yet because many things have been on back order. One of the things needed for the van is on back order. It's some sort of disinfecting sprayer, a handheld. So we've ordered, well, Dave is working on trying to order several of those, but that will be needed for the van. And then on July, for 1 week, we are going to be just in these buildings practicing our protocols and doing trainings. And then on July 6th, we'd be opening for appointments only. So my hope was that around that time, which happens to be around the time Victoria would start, and is that around July 6th, we'd start opening for business by appointment only. And again, all the protocols have to be in place. So it's a slow and careful process to reopen.
Yep, that makes sense. I wonder if, I don't know what Dave's looking for in terms of the sprayer, but I'm sure that the van drivers in Clinton do that. They run 2 or 3 vans still. One of the guys apparently is obsessive and moves the seats and washes down the floor and everything. Seems a bit much, but undoubtedly they have something for spraying. so I could check with them as well and see. So, in other words, if it got to the point where we'd either start, hi Lori, welcome to the club.
Hi, Lori.
There you are. Lori Fairbay is aboard. So if it came to, push came to shove and it got to be July 8th and we still didn't have the sprayer, I would hope, or Dave hadn't found one, I would hope we'd be able to use something similar to what Clinton uses. Let's see. And we do have a description of what the driver needs for training, what the procedures are. That's all written out and available for drivers to use. Let's see. Yeah, so that last part pertained to item D, which is equipment and safety protocols, so that the driver and the passengers both feel safe and not threatened by anything COVID-wise. Any questions or comments or additions on discussions about the van? I don't see anything in my emails from the van design place, so I think it just hasn't gotten to that point.
I think Victoria, excuse me, through the chair, I think Victoria has a question.
Yes, ma'am. What's up?
I had a question in regards to transporting people throughout the town for their appointments and whatnot. Are we going to be having people, when they're coming onto the van, being used hand sanitizers or some kind of disinfectant as well? I know you mentioned gloves and masks. I was just curious.
Bob, if you'd like me to take that, yes, that's absolutely, that's absolutely going to be required. We are going to have all of those supplies on the van and for the driver and the passengers.
Also, there needs to be a mounted, I would expect, because it'll fly around, otherwise waste receptacle, so any materials used for cleaning or gloves or whatever get put in the proper place. Any other questions about van operations? Yes, Margaret?
I have one. Oh, yes. Where does Ginny stand at this point as far as resuming driving for the van?
I haven't heard. Well, I think her thing was she was waiting until we told her what the procedures will definitely be and what specific equipment will be, and then she can see if that makes her feel safe, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
She said she likes driving and she enjoys the seniors and she enjoys their friendship. All other parts are good, but people jumpy about that.
All right, yeah, it's gonna be. There's Peggy.
I'm getting calls already for people who want to book rides, but I feel as though I can't accept any because I don't know if I'm going on board, and I still don't. And I think also it'd be nice if people put something in the Powder House News about when we might be, or, you know, I just feel as though we're in such flux here.
Okay, why don't we set a goal and say July 8th, and we'll just beam in on it and make it happen. We'll have the safety stuff there. We'll have at least one driver, hopefully two, maybe more. We can put in the Powder House News once again, maybe a bigger box or more prepossessing look to it, that we're looking for van drivers.
And that will just be for medical appointments?
No, ultimately, I would think.
I mean, in the beginning.
That would be my recommendation.
Why would we, for instance, not do grocery runs?
Or grocery runs, something other than recreation, something that's essential.
Right.
May I add something too, if I could? So Victoria is going to be starting on July 9th. Victoria is going to be responsible for supervising the van drivers. So they will be reporting to Victoria. So I didn't know how you'd like to, how you'd like to get the van service rolling again and with what involvement of Victoria. And as far as new drivers, how you want to involve Victoria in the, in the hiring process.
Once she's on board directly, I mean, she would be supervising, taking the reports. The drivers are supposed to fill out an inspection report on the vehicle. They're supposed to fill out information about who they're transported and where. All that goes to the director.
Okay. So Victoria, what I can do through the chair, we can get you all of the information on the van, all the van policies, the van driver job description and everything. So you at least have a chance to review that because, I think the intent here is to really get it up and running once you're here. So does that sound about right?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Bob,
Yes.
I don't know how to raise my hand.
Consider your hand raised.
Oh, okay. For personnel purposes, I'm just going to ask, you said there's a new driver that's shown interest.
Yes, we have an application.
Have they have filled out an application?
Yeah.
Just also put in the back of your mind that person has to go through a Corey test
Right.
and a medical test. So, to get them hired and then do the necessary, all the requirements may take some time also.
Right. Hopefully that isn't a huge process. I did a Corey myself and it was pretty quick. Police department.
Yeah, those are fast, but you've got your medical, and right now with COVID, we don't know how long anything is taking.
Right, including COVID.
Right. So one more thing to put into the file.
Yep.
I have another thing. It's my understanding what would happen is Victoria, I guess, would be the one who would interview this person, but then she would have to make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen to do the actual hiring. So the aging wouldn't hire, right?
I actually would do the appointment. I would notify the board, but I would actually do that appointment. So you can choose whatever interview process you want. So long as the person is vetted and has gone through all the pre-employment things, then the recommendation could be made to me. I could notify the board and I would make that appointment. Okay.
And you need to check the applicant's accident record to see how many dents they put in their own personal vehicle.
Oh yeah, driving record would be part of it. The Corey, the pre-employment medical for van drivers. It would also include the drug test. It would have to, and there are a lot of other things. So we'd have to make sure all those things are met.
Yep. Good. Any other questions on that subject? I've been wondering in this age when we're all socially distanced and don't have, well, we can't have Tai Chi and yoga going on live, or can we? Can we do that distanced now? Can we do yoga if they're 6 feet apart? Or does it wait on phase 3, which occurs June 29th, or what? How does that, are you familiar with restrictions on activities within a building? Or you're talking about July 8th, Margaret?
July 8th, yes. So phase 3 would allow for more indoor activities. Currently, there are real limits on how many people can be in an indoor space. It's less than 10. Ideally, they should be socially distanced. We do have, we do have the Grand Hall at the 1870, which at least for the time being could be used in lieu of a smaller space that the activities usually happen in. So maybe there's some flexibility there to allow these things to start to happen.
Okay, so would it be reasonable to put in the Powderhouse News that we're starting Tai Chi and yoga back up in beginning of July?
After consulting with the new 1870 Town Hall manager, just to make sure that the space is free, you'd want to reserve that space with her, make sure that she's all set up with her COVID disinfectants and all kinds of safety protocols. And then you could arrange that with her.
Okay, I think maybe town should just buy a little spray booth and that anybody who goes to any activity just walks through it before they go to the whatever. Well, that's, social activities. Yes, I see a hand raised.
I'm just wondering if it's worth seeing if the yoga teacher wants to do it, through Zoom or a platform similar to this, if some seniors do want to stay active through this time, especially where, like we've said a million times, we don't know what this is going to look like over the next 6 months or year.
Yeah, true
And
enough.
if we do end up having to quarantine again, it would be nice to have some of these things worked out now so that we can just roll them out.
I think
Have a
Victoria, it looks like she wants to weigh in on that.
No, Kate, I was actually thinking the same thing. And even if we couldn't necessarily do it in person, there are ways to get like various like gyms and YouTube and things like that have selected like Tai Chi yoga sessions also too, that we could even stream out to our residents if they wanted to do it at home before we could meet again in person.
Would that involve?
My mom does Tai
people-
Chi on YouTube.
Say what?
I said, that's a great idea. My mom does Tai Chi through a YouTube free,
And also, I wondered if there's any way to do it as an alternative to that, if it were necessary, do it through the town's cable TV network. Okay, so that's something to explore. I think it's a shame to have virtually no COA activities during this time. And as you say, Kate, it depends if we have a rebound. We don't want to be perpetually in a no activity state. We should work out some activities that can occur even with social distancing and so forth. Okay, so everybody put that in the back of your minds. Any more? on that
Prepare
one?
Victoria's taking notes, Bob.
Oh, that's a good thing.
She's getting everything ready. See?
Good show, good show. We need 2 new board members. We're 2 down. Has anybody thought of anyone or anybody think of a procedure for enticing people? They don't have to be seniors. What are your thoughts? Does anyone have a candidate in mind, or do you have? We can certainly advertise it in the Powder House News. We can have someone stand at the town common with a sandwich board on, offering
Are you
tax
volunteering,
services.
Bob?
What's that?
Are you volunteering?
Yeah, right. Okay, so bottom line, we need 2 new members of the board. As you will recall, when we were trying to decide who would be secretary and who would be treasurer, and there are only like 2 people to do it. So it kind of came down to not many ways to wiggle out. But if we have more members of the board, better. So please keep that in mind. I'll be waiting right next to the inbox where I took in all the applications for all of the design ideas for the van. I'll be standing next to that, waiting for all the input on additional board members, hopefully with better results. Articles for the July, August Powder House News. Does anyone have any? I know I've asked Evie to do something about 19 Carter, which is doing some limited activity now. Somebody from Neshoba Neighbors, which is this group starting up in Lancaster, Bolton, and Berlin, to submit some information about that. We'll be putting in some information about looking for COA board members.
Your new director?
Yes, exactly. I think I indicated in the email to you, Victoria, it'd be neat to have a picture of you and, 500 or 600 word bio, or no, whatever you'd like to submit.
Okay, sounds
It's not-
good.
It's not an assignment, it's an opportunity. Think of it that way.
Absolutely.
In the last edition, actually, we introduced or had photo and intro for two of our present board members. And I'd actually like to expand that whole concept so that each month we introduce not only our members, but town officials and so on and so forth. So it's a who's who in town and who do you turn to and that sort of thing. That would sort of dovetail with our booklet that we're still to get out about what services are provided for seniors in Berlin. I am asking for the board's authorization to advocate for seniors. And the reason that comes up is because I don't know how many of you are familiar with this whole situation that went on at Northbrook 2 Senior Housing, where they had this major flood. And then they, because of that, evacuated everybody from the entire building, put them up at the hotel and elsewhere. And then after that, determined that 2 floors of one wing were sufficiently damaged that the residents could not move back in. If they had renter's insurance, their insurance would pay for their staying at the hotel down at the South Rotary. If they didn't, they needed to find accommodations elsewhere, including with family members and whatever. And some of those were not cool stories. Some of the people, these are folks in their 70s, 80s, even 90s, in the midst of a COVID pandemic, sometimes moving 2 or 3 times to find a place to stay, and one guy sleeping on a friend's sofa, all of which impresses me as being ridiculous. So I was sending emails and stuff to the management company and chatting it up with them and talking with the residents there. But I guess it's kind of boggy ground, if I can say. Bob Blair from the Council on Aging, that seems like an official act of the Council on Aging, and I probably shouldn't or can't do that without the board saying, yeah, you can do that. So that's, I guess, what I'm asking. Is that something, or is that something we should all be able to do? What are the feelings? I don't, honestly, I don't know that I had any major effect, except that at one point I was the only one actually talking with the residents, both those who were displaced and those who weren't, who were really ticked off in a major way and felt let down by management. And then finally, a number of them got together and wrote a joint letter to the select board and to other officials in town, who then expanded the audience to everybody from senators and representatives and state representatives. So there's a broad organization of people who then took interest in the situation, which I think got the attention of the management company so that they kind of booted the restoration project along, which up to that point had really, really been dragging. I think at that point it was, I don't know what, 9, 10, 11 weeks into it, and all the residents could see is the occasional, not weekly update, but occasional note from management saying, well, we're doing a lot behind the scenes and blah, 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 and all they hear is blah, 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 because they're not moving back in and nobody seems to be talking with them. And then I think because of this pressure from the town, management got on the stick. And the good news is that by the end of this week, the people on the 2nd floor of the damaged wing will be back in. That was the less damaged wing, a less damaged floor on that wing. And the people on the 1st floor, which was the heavily damaged, water damaged floor, will be back in by or before the middle of July. So they have been working diligently on it, but the whole procedure was, in my mind, ridiculous. I mean, why it took them so long to get started on the restoration work, and then what would it take to actually boot them in the behind to get going on it? I had suggested a couple of times to people I knew there, they wanted the lawyer up, and not only, if they're not getting anybody's attention, something with an, Dewey Cheatham and Howe LLC on the top of the letterhead kind of gets people's attention, and then they start doing stuff. So that's the question, is that the proper way to do it? Should it be me or anybody with the agreement of the Council on Aging being able to advocate for seniors, which I would assume is kind of our mission?
I think some of them did not realize that they should have had some kind of rental insurance, because the management of the management company only paid for them for a certain amount of time.
Right.
You know, and some of them were not aware. I question some of them that rent there. Were they aware of the fact that the management wasn't, he didn't have to do this, and it should be stipulated. I don't understand why management didn't have a system in place in case of an emergency, which this was.
Yeah, I think, you know, the building is so new. I forget how long it's actually been occupied. The whole construction history of it is a whole other story we won't go into, because that's another nightmare. But
Exactly.
it's only been occupied for what, Pat? Maybe 3 years?
3
4?
years. And it seemed that nobody knew where the shutoffs were, which boggles my mind. I don't understand why, when you hire a person to do some maintenance, why they're not taught where certain things are to shut things off or put them on.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I
just
guess-
seems as though it wasn't handled very efficiently.
That's putting it mildly. I think probably if I had moved into that building, 3-year-old building, and saw how spick and span it was and everything, you know, apple pie shaped, I might not have thought it important to buy renter's insurance. I'd probably be thinking, what could go wrong? The place is 3 years old. Turns out that's a bad assumption to make, and they should all have it. Now, hopefully they do when they move back in now.
Well, I guess it was started 8 years ago. And of course, the first company had a problem.
Yeah.
But, you know, but like you said, it's only been occupied the last 3 years.
Correct. So,
Excuse me, through the chair, Victoria has a question, hands up.
Hi, guys. My thought is maybe, going off of your point, I think that, advocacy for seniors is something that we could all do. I think like was echoed before, I mean, that is really part of our responsibility as a Council on Aging. And I'm wondering if maybe, we could send out resources to our seniors, just kind of giving them a heads up, like, hey, by the way, if you are either owning a home or owning rent, an apartment, that try to get some renter's insurance, or maybe try to provide some additional information for them, just, to hopefully try to prevent this from happening again to somebody else.
I would expect anyone in Northbrook now, if they haven't already, would be breaking the piggy bank and buying some renter's insurance. It's not tremendously expensive. Again, I think looking at the newness of the building, they probably thought that was sort of superfluous. Why would they possibly need it? But the other thing that's, to me, is frustrating and annoying, just to not dwell on this thing, but the damage that occurred. I mean, people were left to their own resources for alternative housing, but the damage didn't occur because of any neglect or malfeasance on the part of the residents. It was in a common area that the pipe burst, and all this damage impacted the residents. And I think because of that, the insurance should have covered relocating the residents and paying whatever, and not stuffing them into a shelter in the middle of a damn pandemic. I mean, come on. So, back to the point, I think we should be able to do it, but what would anyone say would be the best way to go about this? Is to bring it to the board and say, look, we have this situation. Can we agree on making a statement or taking action XYZ, or how? Somebody chip
Maybe
in
just
on
being
this?
available to review the facts, and then we can determine how to best help, given on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
I think sometimes what I'm hearing is that when a rentee from there calls the office to report something, the lack of interest in the office personnel to get back to these people leaves them high and dry with no answer.
Part
I
of
have,
that. Go
I
ahead.
have a hard problem with that because I think when you are in a public area and you call because you have a problem, somebody at least should have the decency to try to find out what the problem is and how to fix it. And if not, at least get back to the person that brought the subject up and said, I'm working on it. They leave them out there hanging and these people don't know where to go.
Yep, that's exactly what happened.
And I have a problem because I've always worked with people and students, and I've never, in all the years, I've never been able to figure that out. When you're asked a question, you should at least do what your darndest to get back to these people and give them an answer.
Yep.
But they let them go and they don't pay any attention to them.
It's
Some,
this.
go ahead.
Okay, this whole situation, you know, has been unfortunate and reactionary. There was no foresight. The property management company didn't step up. It turned into months of people being displaced. It has turned into months of people being displaced. It's required, the select board to get involved and send letters to the property management company requiring weekly reports from the property management company. I think it sounds like Victoria is onto something here with trying to steer, into the direction of being a little more proactive, maybe having some educational programs. Maybe we've got Riverbridge being built now, and there are going to be a lot more renters in town. So maybe looking at something where there can be kind of educational programs offered to let tenants know what their rights are, to offer property managers the right to provide information in an open forum so that everyone hears the same thing. So, it's what's happened is unfortunate. I do hope they're on schedule. I do hope all residents are back by July 15th. And maybe after that, we can start moving in a more proactive direction.
Yeah, I like the idea of putting out information about what your rights are as a tenant and the value of having Riverbridge is brand new. But even though it's brand new, they should have renter's insurance. If a sprinkler pipe bursts there, they're going to have the same problem that Northbrook did. One problem that Pat mentioned that I hope it's not unique to Maloney Properties, which manages Northbrook 1 and 2, is that their answering service is completely out to lunch. And people have called and nobody calls back. I don't even know that the answering service necessarily passes the information or complaint along to management. So maybe in some cases, management's left high and dry. Anyway, Northbrook 1 is about to have a new management company or a new manager because we're inviting the other guy's contract, Maloney's contract in Northbrook 1 ends August 31st, and we'll be happy to have a new management company come in. We just don't think it's gone well. So education, and advocacy. Because I think the fact that the town jumped on it and started demanding answers instead of rhetoric, started producing information. I mean, once a week, Jim has been one of the managers for Maloney's been sending the town information and a schedule. This is going to happen. This is not all of that, by the way, Margaret, you may not know this either. Not all of that calendar of progress was supplied to the tenants. Because we had that discussion about what can you tell them.
Sure.
And when I see the letter, I send it on to Ro Clark, who's the one living over in it, and she shares it with everybody else. So, I mean, that's the least they can do is reassure people or give them some where the light is at the end of the tunnel. Okay, anyway, enough about that. What did we have? Oh, next meeting date and time. Wow, we've really zipped through this. Good. Or not. Next meeting date and time, typically we were doing, what, the third? I don't have it in front of me. I think it was the third Thursday of the month. Should we go back to the original schedule we were on?
We
Yes,
were
ma'am.
on a Thursday, then we started to go on Tuesdays and,
Well, we were shifting around because we had these specific
Yeah.
things. We're trying to
yeah.
deal with the
okay.
band, deal with getting a new director and all of this. But if we went back to our regular schedule, it would be, we can look it up and figure out what it was, but I think it was the third Thursday at 4.
Yeah,
If you
And
want, I can book
Yeah,
that
that-
Zoom
that'll
for you
be-
now.
say what?
If you want, I can book that Zoom for you now.
Yeah, and then we also need to figure after we finish Zooming, where we're going to meet in person at some point down the road. We were meeting in the 1870 Town Hall. We could still, or we could meet in the activity room of the COA in the basement of Town Office Building. Anybody have a preference over the other? Our office right now is in the 1870 Town Hall. As Peggy well knows, it's being moved back to the basement of the, let's call it the lower level basement, sounds kind of dingy, of the Town Office Building. And I may actually go over and apply some paint to the walls in there because they are looking a little Metz-a-Metz. And then the desk has to be moved in and something to, as Peggy's noted. Peggy, why don't you weigh in on this? You said we needed storage space in there.
I think Peggy dropped off a bit ago.
She did.
Yeah, up like.
Ice cream truck show up at her place? What's up? Okay. Anyway, she was telling me this morning that she was going over and there's a bunch of stuff to take out of the office. I said, no, actually, because I was there for this federal meat and chicken delivery, I pulled everything out of the office space, put it in the major room, which leaves the space itself available, except the walls need a little touch up. So,
Lori's raising her hand.
yes, Lori. Are you muted, Lori?
Yeah, Lori, you have it muted at your end.
I just would like to know, why are we moving the office back?
Because, go ahead, Margaret.
The reason the office is being moved back is because we have a dedicated 1870 town hall manager now who wants to fully utilize the 1870 for events, activities, and functions at this point. However, that doesn't preclude the COA from meeting over there on
Yeah,
occasion. So you just have to line that up with the 1870 town hall manager.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
I think we should support local businesses and meet at restaurants around town and put that on our expense account. No, maybe not.
you'd have to meet at each other's houses. We don't have restaurants.
That's true. And the
That's
one guy-
right.
The one guy had a decent one out there on West Street is Skip Town, apparently. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Pat. Okay.
Well, I'm chuckling.
I
Yeah.
think everybody knows what you're talking about, Bob. We can tell you in Victoria at another time.
All right, so the next meeting date will be, we'll set it up for the same time as we had been traditionally, whether it's the third, I think it's the third Thursday, we'll figure that out and post that. Laurie, what do you specifically need for, this isn't on the agenda, but I should have had it there, for input for the Powder House News?
Everything, anything and everything. I've got just one thing right now.
Well, you got the 500-word essay coming from Victoria.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That'll fill it up.
Okay. Um,
Yeah, any kind of filler would be great.
okay. And maybe we should do some kind of article about having renter's insurance.
That'd be good.
Yeah, start it right off. Okay. I think that's everything I had on the agenda. Does anybody else have anything to add?
I'm looking to, it looks like historically you met on Tuesdays,
Did.
not Thursdays?
Maybe I'm thinking of the Berlin seniors meeting on Thursdays. And we were-
Thursday is the senior group.
Yeah, we-
Tuesday used to be our group.
Okay, so it'll be Tuesday. Is that work for everybody, Tuesdays?
And it looks like you were deeper into the month than the third. You would have been the fourth, it looks like, the fourth Thursday of the month. Does that sound right to people?
That sounds right.
So the fourth Thursday, fourth
Tuesday.
July, 1, 2, 3, is the 28th.
How does that dovetail with Victoria's work schedule?
Perfectly.
Does?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, so we'll go back to that schedule unless something major or creepy raises its ugly head. We have to go deal with it. All right,
So July 28th, just so I have it for the meeting, for the minutes.
is that the correct date? Let's see, I can look it up. My brow is furrowed, my head is down because I'm diligently researching the date. Let's see. Yes, Tuesday, July 28th at 4 p.m. by Zoom.
Got it.
Tuesday, July.
Okay. I'm going to put it in my iPhone too. Great. Does anyone have anything else you'd like to discuss? Anybody?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, don't mind me. I'm just gonna go ahead and start. Happy birthday to
Oh,
you. Happy
Birthday
birthday
to
to you. Happy birthday, dear Bob.
Wow.
Happy birthday to you.
You know, my dog responds to the family when we sing happy birthday to relatives.
Love
I could
it.
put her up here and it's very funny though.
Probably comes in on the you. All
Yeah.
right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn. the meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Lori.
The meeting is adjourned. We'll see you on Tuesday, July 28th at 4.